Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Tuesday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Tonight, as you can tell by the title of the video, we're going to talk about annual releases. And I'm talking about in the WWE, of course. And it always amazes me that this has been going on for probably 15 years or longer, at least out in the open. It's been going on longer than that, but before the days of social media and the internet, people really didn't know about it. But in the internet, social media days, everyone knows now. This has been going on for at least 15 years out in the open. Every year when it happens, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like it's new. It's not new. It happens every year. But it's not a WWE thing. It's a worldwide company thing. Every business in the world, at the end of the business year, when the company thinks they can make more money, hey there, Austin, glad to have you here, they let people go. It's happens in WWE, happens in AEW, happens in the NFL. The NFL every year in mid-February, right after the big game happens, they let go of thousands of people. But nobody talks about it. Happens in baseball, happens in basketball, and happens with every company in the world. Because the big shots think they can save money by letting people go. But since WWE is a, worldwide marketing / professional, hey there, Eddie. Glad to have you here on this Tuesday night. Austin, I used to watch Ring of Honor all the time, but I have not watched it now because to me, since Tony Khan owns it and it's on AEW, it's not Ring of Honor anymore. It's just the smaller AEW. But I used to watch it when I had Samoa Joe and CM Punk and guys like that. But WWE does this every year right after WrestleMania. They look and see people that they don't use or they're not going to use anytime soon and just go ahead and let them go. This year it was way more NXT than WWE people. Some of them, they gave reasons for why they let them go. Some, they didn't. Hey there, Juhan. Glad to have you here. And she might have said that, and she might be pretty doggone right, Juhan, but we'll never know because it's never going to happen. So that's one of those things you just got to say, hey, it could or it couldn't, and we'll never know. Hey there, JD. Glad to have you here. But let's go ahead and talk about all the ones that got released. There's 16 that got released, and then one that has not been released yet, but she said she was told her contract would not be renewed. And as we go along, the ones that they gave a reason for their release, I'll tell you, but if they didn't give a reason, I can just tell you what I pretty much think, but I don't really know. But when Vince McMahon ran the company, it was 300 to 400 wrestlers. But now they don't have near that many, so you can't let that many go. And most of them, at least the ones that want to continue wrestling, they'll be in, TNA or AEW or Major League Wrestling in 90 days when their no-compete clause expires, if they want to go there. Some of them just decide to stick with independent wrestling because you can wrestle when you want to. You don't have a contract. You can wrestle every Friday, every Saturday, or you can just wrestle one Saturday a month. Because once you've been to WWE and made a name for yourself, you can then go to an independent show, and they're going to pay you $1,000 to go wrestle. So you can make $1,000 in one weekend, and there's no reason to wrestle all the time, year round. But Braun Strowman was released, thank God. He should have never been brought back. He's terrible. The man can hardly walk. And I saw an article earlier today and where Braun Strowman admitted that I believe it's his left knee is pretty much shot. And for the last year, every time I've seen Braun Strowman walk, I think to myself, man, that guy's struggling to get around. And he pretty much admitted that earlier today. So it's good for him because he's 41. And if he's getting around that bad already, if he keeps going, he'll be paralyzed at 45. And no, Jack, I do not like Ariana Grande. I could not tell you one song she sings. I've never been into that bubblegum poppy music. It's just not my thing. But Braun Strowman was released because his contract that he signed, he was making $1.2 million a year. And they just decided, we're paying this guy over $1 million a year to wrestle 2 or 3 times. He's not worth the money. Why keep this guy around? We can let him go, and in 90 days, his contract is void. So instead of, paying the guy another 2 or 3 years, $1+ million a year to do nothing, you let him go, you save that money. Now, the next two were a tag team that were on the WWE roster, but honestly, ever since they got called up from NXT, they've only been used sporadically, and that's Caden Carter and Katana Chance. They were the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, lost those belts, got called up to Raw, and they've done nothing ever since then, and they just had nothing in the cards for them. And if they don't see you in their long-term plans for the future, they're not going to keep you, because they're just paying you basically to just sit there and collect money because they have no long-term plans for you. Same way with the next one, Dakota Kai. She's only been used sporadically for the longest time. She's never really been a full-time performer. So they finally decided, you know what? She needs to go. And then we got Shayna Baszler. And, of course, Shayna Baszler is in her 40s, but she's still in phenomenal shape. But she's one of those that every gimmick they give her, whether she's by herself or in a tag team, the fans just don't care about her. And if the fans don't care about you, after a while, you're going to be out of a job, because they're not going to put you on TV, because being booed or cheered is better than getting zero reaction. And Shayna Baszler has always gotten zero reaction. The fans just don't care if she wins. They don't care if she loses. They don't care if she talks. And when that happens, they don't need you. And the rest of these guys are pretty much all NXT. Riley Osborne was let go because he was asked to go to Evolve. And if you don't know, WWE now owns Evolve. Riley Osborne was asked to go be a member of Evolve, and he said no. I guess in his mind that was kind of like a demotion. So he said no. So they thought, you know what? If you're not going to do what you're asked, we don't need you. And then Cora Jade was probably let go because the last couple of years she's been injured a lot. So they really just have not been able to do anything with her because she's always hurt. So they probably just thought, you know what? We don't know if she can stay healthy for the future, so let's just not take any chances. And then supposedly Gigi Dolan was let go because word going around is that she was just lazy and they just didn't see her going to the gym as much as they thought she should. So they just felt like she wasn't as dedicated as she should be. So they just thought, you know what, if you're not going to dedicate yourself, we don't need you. And then Jakara Jackson was pretty much just Lash Legend's lackey. You see Lash, you see Jakara, but most of the time, if one of the two wrestled, it was Lash. If they had a tag team match together, Lash was in the ring the whole time, and Jakara was pretty much in the corner the whole time. So Jakara was just Lash Legend's lackey. So they just figured, you know what, if she's a lackey, we can save that money. We don't need her. The next three guys were a tag team: Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, but they really haven't been on NXT, on a full time regular basis in probably close to a year. So it's obvious they weren't planning on using them anytime soon. Eddie Thorpe kind of shocked me because, me personally, I wasn't a fan of his gimmick at all. But when they first brought him in, he was pretty popular. And then a few months back, they tried to turn him bad, had him bump into Ava backstage. And ever since then, the crowd just hasn't cared. The next two guys were Oro Mensah and Javier Bernal. Well, now we know why. If you watch NXT, last week they broke up Metaphor and had Metaphor go their separate ways. Well, that's because Jakara Jackson was let go and Oro Mensah was let go. So Metaphor is now down to just two people, which would have been Lash and Noam Dar. So you can't really have the Metaphor when you only have two. So I think NXT last week, with Metaphor breaking up, they pretty much let you know that something was coming, and it was Jakara Jackson being let go and Oro Mensah being let go. And Javier Bernal really lasted longer than I thought he would, because ever since NXT's been coming on, if you see Javier Bernal, he's getting beat. I don't know if the kid's ever won a match. He's never really had a character, a gimmick, anything. He just gets challenged to a match. He's in it. He gets beat. Some wrestler will lay down an open challenge. Javier Bernal will respond, go out there, accept the challenge, and he gets beat. And then Danny Palmer's on the list, and I'll be honest with you, I had no idea she was still under contract. When I saw her name, I thought she was there. So obviously, she ain't done anything in a while. And then Shotzi was the one that was told her contract would not be renewed. But I'm not really sure when her contract expires. But, last year when WWE released Duke Hudson, Duke Hudson, I believe, is 35, if memory serves me correctly. And they told Duke Hudson that, they had no intentions of ever putting him on the main roster. They didn't think he was good enough. So, if we're not going to keep you NXT forever, if you're not good enough for the main roster, we don't need you. And that's pretty much what happens now to a lot of the guys. Usually now, if you're at the age of 30 and you're still NXT, you can pretty much bank on the fact that they're going to let you go. They feel like if you're 30 and you still ain't good enough to be on the main roster, you're not going to make the main roster. And we're not going to keep you here for years and years and years, NXT, when NXT is supposed to be a developmental brand. So why are we going to keep you around when you're 30 plus years old? We can let you go and hire somebody that's 23, 24 that we think is good enough to be on the main roster one day. So a lot of times if NXT folks hit 30 years old and they're still NXT, next time there's releases, that person is going to be in on. If they don't use you, they're letting you go, because they're not going to keep paying people to just sit backstage and collect money. And, WWE now owns AAA. They actually re-signed Alberto Del Rio, but they also signed La Parka. Now, I'm sure it's not the same La Parka from WCW 35 years ago, but nevertheless, they signed La Parka. But they also signed some other luchador wrestlers that you may not know who they are, but I think everybody knows who Alberto Del Rio and La Parka are. But at least on the Alberto Del Rio side, they have no immediate plans to use him on Raw or SmackDown. They just re-signed him in case they ever want to use him on Raw or SmackDown on a regular basis. He might be on NXT on occasion, But this is really because everybody knows who Alberto Del Rio is. And this way, with him being under WWE contract now, he won't be able to travel and do as many independent shows, which he'll be 48 later on this month. So I'm not sure how many years he's got left. But him being under contract now, he can't do a lot of the traveling and independent shows. But you're probably not going to see him on Raw or SmackDown anytime in the near future. But everybody knows who Alberto Del Rio is. His first time around when he was full-time on the roster and he had Ricardo Rodriguez, that was the best gimmick in the 21st century. Well, let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What kind of shoes do frogs wear? Open-toed sandals. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.